All right. In front of your face, clap loudly 3 times. Shukran. Okay. Take a little step to your left. There you go. Great. Okay.
Okay, I am Franco Sciorilli, the conservator from Italy that cooperate, with Ecor and SHEP for this project of TWL. Here we did several projects in the last 2 years, and now we are working in some intervention for the, I forgot the word.
Working on the columns here in the cellar.
No, it's for the emergency conservation. So we are now program and work in emergency conservation for several part of the TWL. So here we are inside in the cella where we did 2 different kind of intervention, one for the podium and one for the 3 columns that they are unstable and they have problems related to that. As you can see, even these columns that is open, there are several damages, from the slate part missing, and even an instability. So the 3 columns that we have there, where we did the intervention, they were pending. We believe that there are several problems in the ground. So now our intervention was to stabilize the situation and also make it safety. Because we don't have to forget that here are entry many people and it can be dangerous, and it's also not for that, but even to keep it here. So we have 3 columns where the third one that we cannot see now because there are just 2 drums. The program was necessary to remove the second drums from down because it was completely damaged. The intervention that we did in the other 2, they are a little bit pending to this side. And we decide to do this system as in a bracket, and after we will have, if we can move a little bit, we will put 3 another elements of wood to keep it stable and support a little bit this kind of structure. Of course, what we did is, as to say, temporary, because it's an emergency conservation. The idea, also from the geologist and from even the architect that was working before here, Elena Ronza, with the local director that we have here, Iman, it was to do the investigation under the ground and try to understand why just these 3 columns together, they have this kind of problem. But in general, the problems that we found is not just this. There are many pieces missing, and this is part of the big problems that we have in general for the stones of this of all the building. So if we can go a little bit inside, we can talking about the drums that we remove. When Dr. Hammond he did the excavation for the area, he found these columns in a very bad condition. He found. Later, they did some intervention with this kind of plaster all around, that it was covered 2 drums and a half. It was covered. It's made by cement, local sand, and I have to say that thanks God they do it, because if this drum still stable, still compact, close together, it's just for this kind of mortar that they put it here. So sometimes even the not right, not correct intervention, even with not correct material, because as I say, there is a cement, they help sometimes to save the situation. This drums, it was the second one. Or you can imagine how was the situation with Giuseppe Del Monaco. The last week, the engineer, the geologist engineer that we have here, and cooperated with us, we did almost the calculation of these drums that should be around 300 to 350 kilograms. So we can imagine that there were another 4 on the top of this. We are talking about 1 ton and 200 and 1 ton, almost 1,000 kilo. And to be honest, I was really surprised that until now it doesn't collapse, this one. And thanks God we did this intervention. It was really little bit difficult for us to decide to remove the drums, because normally in the conservation work we didn't do that. But we have to say, as you can see, this brackets pass from up to down, and also the stones, it's really very, very fragile. The other drums, we did some intervention by inject the resin epoxy, to fix it back the pieces with the cracks and broken. That we can see here some part. But this here, it was completely impossible. So after we did this intervention, just today morning we started to replace the drums here. But to resolve some problem, what we did between these two, as we can see, this drums, it's a little bit outside than the other, because there are missing part. And also how it was the first drums, to replace this, it was going on the border, so going to catch the corners here. So to replace the drums and have the same problem where all the weight of this going to touch several points, so what we decide, we did underneath these two drums, 2 discs in epoxy resin. That they are completely reversible, because also we did the treatment before with the Paraloid B72. So how it's reversible? Just put a little bit acetone. The acetone will dissolve the Paraloid, and after the resin it's easy to remove. The resin and the disc, what we do it, we put it in street level. So now the columns is not become again with the inclination that we have before. It will be a little bit better. And also, as I say, it's reversible. If in the future they want to replace, as we found, it will be easy. Just remove again the 5 drums, remove the disc, do it, of course, the disc in another way, and replace this again. So this disc that we did here, it was necessary to let the drums working in the center part of the drums. So in the next days we are going to replace all the drums, and we will do also the bracket as we did for the other 2 columns. So as I say, this is a part of the emergency conservation. We are trying to do this kind of work as a spot all around, in according with the priority that we have in this building. Even we have to be honest, there are many things to do. Several intervention, we didn't do it, several intervention until now. Why? Because we did several tests about the stones the last year, with several different material to compact or recompact, the stones, because as we can see, it's very fragile, and the sand, it's easy, to lost it. We are wait, maybe another 6 months after to do some test on these stones that we already have. They are put there, and we keep it for almost a year and a half under the weather. So we will see. Also this year we will try to do another test with a waterproofing paint, treatment, because what we understand that most of the problem for this kind of stones is the presence of the water. The presence of the water dissolve a little bit the cement material that there is inside in the stones, and this problem of the pulverization of the stones that we have is become most of the time for this kind of problem. So, about the priority and about the emergency intervention or conservation that we did. I think now we should be talking about the podium, that it was a very hard work of the last August, October of this year, where with my team, what we decide to do. If we can maybe...
Can you tell me a little bit more, like when were these columns originally built?
This, I think, they are Nabatean are, and in the origin they were all covered by plaster. I don't think they were open like that. So.
But about how high do you think they went?
Sorry?
About how tall were they?
Honest, it's really very difficult, to do the interpretation of this site. You can just imagine the names of the site: TWL, Temple of Winged Lion, and winged lion are just in a small sculpture that became from a capital, because it's really difficult to understand the name of this podium, the name of this temple, and even a little bit the history, because here we have several reconstruction that we are believe became from even later the Roman times. So it's a little bit difficult to give some information about that. And also, honestly, my work it's more concentrated in conservation than studying that. My study it's of course it's important to know that, but when you have a situation as the original, here we have, let's to say, the podium completely naked from the decoration that we have before. Under the soil we have several area where still the original floor that it's made tiles. It was made tiles by marble, and maybe we are thinking even in alabaster. Also the podium part, it was covered, the top of the podium by tiles. And our intervention was related to that. After the excavation, some tiles, they were lost. So, and we have just the preparatory layer or the bedding layer of the tiles, that they were under the weather, under the sun and raining and the water, humidity. Even in the winter, sometimes here it's snowing. So it was we found the situation that it was necessary to try to cover and create a capping as a protection of this original part. Even it's just a mortar, but for us it's very important to have as a documentation of the site. And what we decide to do.
Should we go around for the?
Yeah, we can.
Yeah, let's do another
Even
take
from
here.
there, you can.
Let me. Okay, here I'm gonna cut.
Yeah.